Well, hello. Merry Christmas and not Happy New Year yet, but Merry Christmas. It's been a while since I've talked to you guys, since Elmo. I was just looking at that. Today is Christmas Day. And sorry I haven't gotten back sooner. A couple people have asked, like, what's going on with the podcast? It's not like a quit thing at all. Work and just kind of got busy there for a while, and honestly, I didn't have, I felt like a creative kind of like a lull. So, that's my bad. I haven't dropped out on you guys at all. I told you we are going to try to push this thing, and that's what we're going to keep doing. So, but I thought, what better day than Christmas morning to come down and, get reacquainted and talk to everybody. And also, brother of mine, I've talked about him before. You guys have heard the name and the stories and all that stuff, but I got Terry Fullerton here with me. Terry was one of my seniors in the Marine Corps from the jump when we got to 2-1. Just a brother of mine. I have always had so much respect for, and I love him to death. We went through one real scary situation in particular. And we went out last night, and a friend of mine said, "Oh shit, I didn't know you had a brother." And I kind of explained to him, when you know someone in that capacity, it doesn't matter what mom you came from. So, he came up from Oklahoma today, and before he gets out of here and goes back home, I wanted to get him down here and talk some shit with you guys. So what's up, buddy? What do you think about podcasting so far? It's been 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
I don't like hearing my own voice, but
I knew that was coming.
But I guess first things first, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man. I am 41 today. So, yeah, it was. So anyway, Terry, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Terry came up. When'd you come up? Friday morning? Saturday to kind of hang with the family. He met us in Branson when we went on that trip. I don't know, back in the summer. And so, he just wanted to come up and kind of hang with us. So, I think I told you earlier, Alicia forced me to stay up until midnight for my stupid birthday. And then you guys know I have been talking about him since day one. He's kind of one of my big, motivators for starting a podcast. But, Mr. Shane Gillis is coming to St. Louis on the 13th of January. So backstory is I was looking him up to see when his tour dates were for 2024, and Alicia was sitting with me, and I mean, the tickets are like he's a huge selling comic right now, so it's not cheap to go see him. And I was like, oh, fuck, he's coming in January. I'm like, yeah, man, we can't swing that. We got a lot going on, getting the basement finished and shit. So at midnight, she texts me with like a photo of the tickets to the show. So I couldn't be more pumped on that, but she really just makes me feel bad when she does stuff like that, because I'm not the best at buying gifts, but she also doesn't make it easy on herself, right? Because she like has everything, not everything, but if she wants something, she just goes and takes care of it,
Yeah.
So she's tough to buy gifts for. And speaking of gifts, Terry calls me a couple weeks ago, and he knows that my son and Savvy, probably not Chevelle so much, but probably Savvy, wanted to get into hunting. And he found a good deal on a youth model Savage 243. So he calls me a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, I know you're wanting to get the kids kind of going and stuff like that. And would this be all right? So, of course, I said, yeah. And as much as Cash is pumped about the fucking Xbox and monitor he got today, I think you stole the show, buddy. It's very much appreciated, man. He's going to love it.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to show him how to use it.
I mean, to me, hunting's always been one of those deals where it's just, I grew up hunting.
Yeah.
And it's a passion I like, and I like to share it with everybody else.
And I've talked to a couple different people about that, whether it's work or on here or not, but that community always wants to bring the youth in and show them the way and the reasons, and like, you know, that's a very open. As a matter of fact, you said to me, I'd rather sit in the stand with Cash than you, which I totally agree with. But I think that's really cool about the community to want to share that experience so much, you know? And like you heard on the Elmo one, Brady was just happier to have me there and to see that excitement of killing your first buck and all that shit, you know? And so there's a huge part of me that like I think we're definitely going to set it up and come down to Oklahoma, and whether we just sit out there with you or whatever, but getting to see your son like harvest his first deer, I just that's a definite. I don't need photos for that. I don't need anything. That one will stick for sure. My memory's dog shit, but that one's going to stay with me.
Yeah, well, I took my niece out, and I don't know who was more excited when she harvested her buck.
I don't know. Right.
Me or her.
Right.
Because, I mean, it was so funny, like, whenever it comes down for the shot, which I had her set up. I didn't want to set her up for failure. I had a little tripod in the blind.
Absolutely.
So, you know, she's getting ready to take the shot, and I'm like, God, hurry up, shoot.
Right.
Hurry up and shoot.
Right.
You know, I'm in her ear. And then finally when she shot, I mean, just to see her face and everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right.
I mean,
well, and we learn in shooting fundamentals like, oh, sorry, folks, I got a sinus thing going on. Deal with it. Sorry, but I do apologize. When we learn in shooting fundamentals, it's like, take that breath, stay calm and relaxed. And then you got your uncle or dad or whoever over you going, you got to fucking hurry. You know, it's like, so that sense of urgency, but that's probably the buck fever anyway, right?
Well, the reason why I was on her, which when we first got a rifle for her, we went out to the range and was shooting.
Sure.
And she was halfway scared of the rifle, the recoil.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say scared, but it bothered her a little bit.
Yeah.
And so her groups, if you call them groups, scattered all over the paper.
Uh-huh.
And we got down, I think we only took 2 boxes of shells to the range, which is still a lot, I guess. But I go, hey, you got 1 shot left. Let's make it a good one. You know, and I set the scenario for her at the range. And I'm like, hey, you got to make that shot right now. Hurry up. Take the shot. Take it right now, you know, at the range. And that was a beautiful shot. I mean, right in the bullseye.
Yeah.
1 inch square, which was 50 yards, but still, you know, after shooting inside of a 1 foot box, you know. Yeah, and so I was like, well, she performs better under pressure. So I'm going to do that when she's shooting. It's like, hey, just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, but you're right, because you're right to kind of do that, and I'm going to keep that in mind when I get him going, because like there's not always this huge window of time that, I mean, they definitely aren't just going to hang out. The same thing with Elmo. Like Brady I had the situation under control and I knew like what my lane was, but kids aren't looking at that shit. They're, you know, like they're not taking in those things, and like, and you know way more than I do when a buck's rutting around and he's chasing, is like, he's not planning on staying anywhere for too long if it doesn't have females around. So, but yeah, I mean, that pressure thing, you're not always going to have that kind of time. But you know, she figured it out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really just exciting and stuff to go through that with him. And maybe Savvy too. Savvy's told me she wants to go, Savvy, she just wants to sit with me. She wants to sit with you more than me, but she just wants to sit there with me. And she said, like, I'm not sure that I want to kill a deer, but I want to go out and hunting with you. I don't see anything wrong with that either. Just hanging.
Yeah, like with my niece, you know, that's one thing that I did with her was before I bought her a rifle, I'm like, hey, you're going to come out here and see it. You know, for me is so mind-boggling. I guess I'm old school, you know, men hunt, women house.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of got that, you know, why would you want to come out here? But, you know, especially a teenage girl.
Sure.
And I go, well, I want you to at least see 1 shot before I spend a lot of money on you.
It's not a bad idea.
And so I took her out a couple, like the year before. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything. I think we saw a couple little deer come by, but I didn't harvest anything.
Right.
And I got the buck fever after that. Like, okay, I'm setting her up. You know, I got to get her going. And then the first year I took her out, it was youth season, and it was funny was we had two little fawns, like little spikes, come in, and I go, if you want, I can get you the tags and you can shoot them tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh no, I can't do that. It's like, oh man, but they were babies.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, like I said, I think the next year after that, we got her on that one, and yeah, it was nice.
Now, I told Savvy, and well, obviously Cash too, but like, if you do get to take a deer, you're gonna be the one that has to go through and dress it. Did you have her go through all that stuff, or did you kind of?
I told her she had to watch
For sure,
because she told me from the get go that the whole blood and guts not for her.
all right, ease her in.
Yeah, so I said, well, there's some people that make tradition. You got to take a bite out of the heart or the liver.
Yeah,
While it's still right there. And
yeah.
I go, I'm just gonna. You have to watch the first one.
Yeah.
Luckily you're a beautiful girl,
right?
So you can have anybody do this for you.
Sure.
Hey, just blink those eyes.
Absolutely.
You'll have guys wanting to do this for you.
That's the way it goes.
But you have to watch.
Yeah.
Because you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's actions and consequences.
Of course.
You can't just go out there and just waylay deer and just let them sit.
Right.
You got to know the whole process of it.
Well, and there's a bigger lesson to that than deer hunting too, though. It's not just it's like you said, action and reaction and stuff. So sometimes you do stuff, it's going to have a reaction, so you need to be prepared for that too. So I think that's a good idea. I didn't get to tell you this yet, but as far as Elmo goes, the update is I called the meat locker that I took him to. It was exactly 30 days later, so on the 17th of this month, and he was number 718. His tag number or whatever was 718, and they were still on the 500s. So it's going to be a little bit longer before I get any meat back. But I was hoping we could eat. That was like the plan, was to feed you some deer when some venison while you're up here, but it didn't work out. But other than that, the kids have had a great Christmas so far. Cash has never... He had an Xbox, or he has whatever at his mom's. And we had asked him before, like, is that something you're into? And he's like, honestly, I get enough of that at my mom's. There's no need for it. So that was always pretty cool. But he's been doing really well, besides some little messing around with his buddy stuff at school. So we got him an Xbox and a monitor, and he's up there figuring all that out. Now, I have never turned on an Xbox. I've never played an Xbox, so I have no skin in the game on that one, but luckily he has. These kids know how to do all that shit themselves. And the girls they cleaned house too, and Uncle Terry took care of them with some gift cards. It was funny when you called, you're like, well, what you can do is take care of the girls, because like, who knows what to get for an 11 and 13-year-old girl, but they're very well taken care of anyway. But I wanted to tell you guys too, my buddy Steve at work, Steve Lovell, our electrician, it's not official Boone and Crockett or anything, but he's been scoring deer for a long time. I think I'm sure, his dad got him into it, but he has been within a few, he's been very close to some people who have had their deer officially scored, and he scored him at a 145.750. So that's 145 3/4, right? So he ended up being a pretty good sized dude. We're still obviously waiting on him to get back. So right around next December, hopefully I'll be able to come back on, and maybe by that time we'll have video, and I'll kind of have him in the background or something. I don't know, but did I tell you that Alicia's girlfriend told her that wall? Oh, you were standing there. That wall going up the stairs, that big empty wall going up your steps. Her friend, of all people, Jess, came over and was like, hey, it would be good kind of right there. I didn't think Alicia would go for that at all. Being that right when you walk in the house, here's his head. But I was thinking about it, and I think he will be turning left a little bit. Because and I didn't know how any of this stuff worked, but when the form that they have them all going on and stuff, They kind of look one way or the other. So it'll actually kind of work out if I put him on that wall because he'll be more looking at the front door.
Got a guard there.
But is that, I don't know. Maybe I should just have him down here. I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet.
I'm a little different on all of that. I know I got the European mounts.
Yeah.
The only reason why I've started that was that first buck that I shot on the deer lease. My dad said, you will get him mounted. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't care about it. You know, I was just going to cut the skull plate with the antlers and go around, show him, and then just throw him out in the field and let whoever gets him, gets him. That's the way I feel about it. But,
Yeah.
you know, since that one that I got the European mount, it was like, well, I'll just do it all for the rest of the deer.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of, hey, thanks, deer. You know,
Right.
I remember you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the weird thing is that a shoulder-mounted deer will match nothing in our home. Not that it matters that much, but that's the way it goes. That's just the way it's going to be. Hey, you brought that European mount with you, and I wanted to talk about that too. How we were having that conversation that it seems like from all the photos you showed me and the ones you have at your house and the one in your truck, do you know why they're like the racks down there? Guys, I'm telling you too, Terry it's a really, really good looking rack, but they're super, they seem to me super long, but like thinner. Does that have any, is that like a weird thing that just happens in different regions?
It's their antler growth is genetics and nutrition.
Okay.
And, you know, so of course the gene pile determines kind of their shapes,
Right.
you know, but yeah, and then nutrition has a big deal too with it. So, you know, whatever the deer is eating, that's going to affect their antler growth more so than genetics. I mean, because it was hit on one of your other podcasts where they're talking about all these farms that go out there and they're, you know, basically shooting them up with steroids and
yeah.
You know, and so it's the nutritions that they get, you know, from the locally going out there eating the fields.
Well, if I understand it correctly, it's almost like our fingernails, right? In a sense of how they grow and all that other, and I know it's a lot different, but apparently if you're like lacking in certain nutrients, your fingernails can do weird shit and get spots. And so, I mean, I guess it could kind of be sort of the same thing. I know it's different, but
yeah, I mean, it is. And there's so much money that's been spent on deer hunting and deer raising, I guess.
It's a huge industry.
Yes, it is. And, you know, the science involved in it, they've got it down. And like my deer at the house, I consider them pets. You know, I want them around just to look at them.
Right.
But I put mineral in with the corn, keep them fed, and just watch those antlers grow.
Do you know that there's like a couple that keep coming back? Like, can you spot them pretty well?
Well, that one that I showed you with the little eye guard,
that funky one, yeah.
See, I think I've had him on camera for like 3 years. I watched him go from little bitty to he's nice, you know, and then now it's like, ooh, he's trashy.
Now he's just wild, yeah, definitely. I haven't even said it. You born and raised outside of Tulsa?
I was born and raised around Lawton, which is southwest corner of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And then after I got out of the Marine Corps the first time, I moved up northeast Oklahoma, and that's became my home.
Yeah, you're 6 hours from here, so yeah. So you were born on the other side of the state, basically.
Yes.
Huh. When did you first go in? What was your first enlistment? What were the years in that one?
94 to 98.
And weren't you with 8th and I? What?
Yeah.
But your MOS was still infantry, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was 0311. But yeah, my first 2 years I went to 8th and I.
DC. Let me stop you. How do they? So you go through boot camp, go through SOI, and then who comes up to you and says, "Hey, we want you in DC"? How's that work?
So, at the School of Infantry, I guess the first sergeants from 8th and I came out to the School of Infantry. They had everybody together and they kind of showed what 8th and I does, you know. And
for those who don't know, what does 8th and I do? And I mean me.
Ceremonial honor guard.
Okay.
We run around in our dress blues, M1 rifles.
Yeah.
We do parades, funerals, firing parties. When we even go to the White House a few times, whenever another president from another country comes in, you just see
Okay.
the people.
Okay.
I mean, we're background curtains,
Right,
basically. The
right.
toy soldiers standing there in our dress uniforms.
Well, they put the best looking ones in the background.
Yeah.
What? So that is different than silent drill.
Well, so whenever I was at 8th and I, so it's two companies, two marching companies. Each company has got the 3 line platoons. And the other company, Alpha Company, they have the silent drill platoon as one of their platoons.
Okay.
After going through one parade season, then you could try out for the silent drill platoon. But whenever I first got there, I was like, hey, that'd be cool. But then after doing a marching season, I was like, I don't want to be a boot again, which would be, trying out.
Start over there. Yeah.
So I didn't even attempt to do that.
So you guys are basically blues every day?
For our commitments, yeah, it's dress blues. In the summertime, we get the blue trousers. Wintertime, it's the blue trousers. Summertime, it's the white trousers. But
wow.
Yeah.
But that's what you guys work on when you're not at a ceremony. You just working rifle.
Yeah, it's the joys of the Marine Corps. Clean.
Is it tedious stuff?
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Being a country boy from Oklahoma,
right,
peeing outside,
right,
not really seeing concrete, to be in the middle of Southeast DC, killed me.
Busy up. So you've been to the White House a couple times?
Yeah.
Inside?
Not inside. We was on the south lawn. I had a.
Oh yeah, where Marine One lands, huh? That South Lawn where they land? No, South Lawn's like the garden and shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think South Lawn's where they do all that outdoor shit.
Yeah.
I know dick about White House.
I know we had it would be President Clinton at the time. Him and I believe the South Korean president, the closest I've been, they walked right in front of me about 3 feet.
Oh, Billy walked right in front of you?
Yeah.
Damn. Did you see Monica?
No.
She wasn't around?
No. See, so that's another deal because, the Marines, everybody's got to look the same.
Sure.
And so I wore glasses my whole life, but I wasn't allowed to wear glasses on commitment. So, sure, he walked by me, even though he was 3 feet, he was still a big old blur.
Just some guy.
Yeah.
Really?
I can't see without my glasses.
Yeah, that's funny.
So, yeah, I've had a lot of people, and it's kind of funny. We'd do during the summertime, we'd have Friday evening parades at 8th and High. And, Marines were all 18, whatever.
Sure.
And they got their women up there in the bleachers. And they're like, hey, did you see that one? She wasn't wearing underwear.
Right.
And it's like, oh.
I haven't seen anything all day.
I can't even see the grass in front of me.
How did you... So you can see... Okay, so you could see the guys next to you to keep yourself covering the line and all that shit, and you knew rifle manipulation, so you just kind of figured it out blind almost?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that blind, but
yeah, it would have been cool to see.
It would have been great to see.
And now you've got the surgery and you can see just fine. And
yeah,
do you want to go back to 8th and I? Maybe. I mean, you can if you want.
No.
So does it have something to do with like height? Like, don't they want all you guys like right? They don't want it staggered, me and then you. It would be a weird look.
Yeah, okay, so School of Infantry, they come in and they explain what all 8th and I does. And they say, hey, if you're under 6 foot, get out of here.
Go sit somewhere else.
Yeah. And so everybody's getting up, and I think at the time I was like 5'10", 5'11". And I'm getting up to leave, and our troop handlers there at SOI said, hey, get them back and start field day. And it's like, oh, I'm 6 foot tall. I'm going to sit down and get out of field day. And at the end of the selection, they said, hey, write down why you want to go to 8th and I. I'm not a pretty boy. I didn't want to go to 8th and I.
Right.
I was just...
You still want a field day.
I just didn't want a field day.
Yeah.
That's what I put down on my piece of paper.
What?
I'm just trying to get out of field day. Handed it in. So guess what happened when we got our orders? I'm going to 8th and I.
So you might have gotten out of it a half an hour of field day, but now you're going to...
For 2 years of field day.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of cleaning and busy work?
So everything's got to be guidebook for Marines perfect
Immaculate.
every day, every second of the day.
Really?
Yeah. We're talking pressing and starching our racks. For the first 2 months, I never slept in my back or my rack. It was all sleeping bag on the ground because, like I said, I pressed out the white. My team leader came in every day, measured
4 inches or whatever, yeah.
6 inches
6,
fold,
right.
12 inches of white,
Wow.
protractor, 45-degree angle.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Field day inspections. We actually had an inspection roll of toilet paper. Our toilet paper had to be, we kept it in a plastic bag, never used it except for inspection.
Yeah.
Because the toilet paper had to come over the top,
Sure it did.
folded at a
Triangle.
45-degree
Yeah.
angle. Yeah. I mean, it was just bad.
Wow. I don't know, man. If I get into a groove of something like that, I like the like structure of it, but that seems kind of, well, because you went to go 03 and you're somewhat through SOI doing kind of cool stuff, and then you go to folding toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, okay, after 2 years of 8th and I, what happens? Hey, your time's coming up. What are you going to do now? Or do they send you straight back?
There are guys that have, or Marines that have stayed their whole 4 years at 8th and 9th.
Really?
You know, I mean, it's just kind of the way the rotations of the Marines have worked.
Yeah.
You know, everything's on a 2-year cycle.
Yeah.
Or it was before Iraq. Everything's based on a 2-year cycle.
Right.
For the training, the deployment. So after 2 years, you get orders, you know. And they gave us a choice, East Coast, West Coast, or Hawaii, I think. And it was, hey, I'm going to West Coast.
Who'd you end up with when you first went back your first time? What?
The unit?
Yeah.
India 3-4.
Where were they at? Where'd they live?
They were at Margaritaville.
Oh.
33 area on Pendleton. And the weird thing is that 3-4 is part of the 7th Marine Regiment, which is at 29 Palms.
Right.
And
that would have been funny if they stuck you out at 29 Palms for that.
well, I almost did because I was getting out of the Marine Corps in June of 98. They were actually taking our battalion and moving them to 29 Palms. And they said, hey, we don't care if you're getting out or not. If you're with this unit on this date, you're going to 29 Palms. I was like 3 days away from it, but inside, so I didn't have to go to 29 Palms.
So but had you been on that a day after, you would have had to go up to 29 Palms and then go home from there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get out in what, 98?
Yeah. I guess May of 98. Yeah. Terminal leave.
So now you still got 4 years of your reserve status, right?
Yeah. It's 3 years because I did the year delayed entry program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then you go home. What'd you do? Start working?
Yeah, I went home, moved in with my mom, and her boyfriend at the time was a carpet layer, and we did that for a few months. And then, you know, between laying carpet and drinking beer, I was always broke.
Right.
And so got a real job. Well, real job. Went to a roofing company and did sheet metal roofing for 3 years. The drinking, stayed at a bar.
Right.
Somehow I ended up owning that bar as a beer bar. And it was funny because here I am, you know, August of 2001. We're talking about our delayed entry, you know, their inactive contract. It's up.
Right.
I own a bar, so I'm giving out beer to everybody. They're like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like,
I got my
I'm
DD-214. Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm out.
The Marine Corps cannot call me back at all.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's not a big deal. And I go, it's a big deal to me.
You don't know.
2 weeks later, World Trade Centers come flying down.
Yeah.
You know, and so a lot of the customers, patrons at the bar, veterans, you know.
Sure.
There's one World War II Marine, Raider, been through all the islands all the way up from Guadalcanal to UO.
Oh.
A couple of Vietnam vets that 3 or 4 tours in Nam.
Wow.
You know, and
What a bunch of studs.
So after September 11th, they're sitting there. I went to the recruiter and they wouldn't take me. I'm just trying to
These old boys were saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drink my beer and avoid eye contact.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck the Marines. I ain't going back.
Yeah.
And then finally it's like, all right, guys, I'm going. So I went to the Marine Corps.
It
went
was
to the
that.
recruiters.
That was it. You didn't have some come to Jesus moment with like what you needed to do. Because this is the thing that the reason I painted this whole picture was because I wanted you to talk about this, folks. You don't know this, but I have known Terry for a long time, and he'll kind of talk to me. But to get him to open up like this has been the best Christmas or birthday present ever, because he's just. He'll talk to you about anything, anytime, but he's just not a loudmouth asshole like me. So the reason I asked about the first appointment was because after I got to know him for a while, and he said that he got out, he had already been out. We had, I think, 2 guys, you and Rash, I think, that both got out and came back.
And Olson.
And right. And I think that just, it means something different, right? Because you could have come back and blah, blah, blah. Went to a supply and you're still serving your country and you're still doing your thing again, but you came back and went straight back to the grunts. Pretty good idea knowing what was going to happen. So you're just hanging at the bar getting shit from the old boys, and that was how you made the decision?
Yep.
I mean, the fucking bar,
Fucking peer pressure.
The fucking bar. Yeah, the bar and peer pressure.
Yeah.
Oh, so how old are you? Because you can't be, 33 at this point? No way, you're still in your 20s.
I'm in my 20s. I mean,
so 3 years later, so you're 21, 22?
24, 25, right? Yeah, if I got out at 21.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah,
probably 24 going on 25 something?
Yeah.
So you go back to the recruiter, same office you went to in the...
No, this is Tulsa office. I came out of Lawton.
Okay. Doesn't matter that much, but
I went up there, and so I joined. Of course, the recruiters they got quotas to make. They don't care, if we're about to go to war or not.
Right.
So my recruiter actually had his quotas already for September. So he's like, "Hey, you're not doing your deal till October." So October 1st, I went to MEPS. Got some shit because, I really don't want to go back into the Marine Corps, the grooming standards.
Yeah, when you've been drinking beer for 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So right after I did my swear-in,
Yeah.
Sergeant Major's like right there, and he's like, "Where's your haircut?" And it's like, damn it.
I forgot.
I don't want one yet.
Yeah.
Can't I wait another week or two?
Right. Just leave me alone for a little while,
Yeah.
Sergeant Major.
Yeah.
So they give you orders, you do the MEPS, and then did you just get orders to 1st Marines?
No, I guess because they know it takes a while to get back into the groove of things.
Right.
So I stayed from October to December, somewhere around there, I stayed at the recruiter station. And the recruiters hated me because they'd have somebody come in and, what are they?
Pulley or whatever, yeah.
Well, it's just the guys that haven't even signed contract.
They're just coming in.
And they wanted me to talk to people, and I'm like, we clean weapons all day.
Yeah,
That's
Air
all we
Force,
do,
yeah. Yeah.
And I would turn people off of the Marine Corps so much, the recruiter's like, hey, you got to stop talking to people. And it's like, or
give me something else to do.
Or, yeah. So they had me running the fat bodies, all the pulleys that couldn't do their pull-ups. And they thought it was the greatest thing. I'd come in the morning, and if they didn't have, like, paperwork errands, like run and drop off background checks on people or something.
Right.
They would send me home, in which I owned the bar at the time, so home was the bar. I'd go to the bar, drink all day, and then after these pulleys got home from school or work, 6 o'clock at night, we'd meet up at the recruiter station. I'd go PT them.
Yeah.
Which was great because I was out of shape and needed PT.
Yeah. You could have done without the drinking in between, but whatever.
Yeah, well, it's a lot easier to run when you're drunk.
I guess.
Well.
And then so then that's kind of spinning you up to get ready yourself anyway, so that worked out.
Yeah.
Because you're going back to the grunts again.
Yeah, going back to the grunts. I was really close to being a tanker. Like, hey, can I change my MOS? If I'm going to war, it'd be kind of nice to have a big old armor.
Yeah, that's a bigger target too, though. That scares me, man.
Yeah.
But they're the baddest motherfuckers on the... I mean...
Yeah, you ain't got much to worry about inside of a tank.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going, it's going to be... You're gone.
Quick,
you know.
Do you remember... we're going to go back, but do you remember when we were leaving Iraq. I don't know why this is, but I was told that once tanks load that cannon, they can't eject that round. Do you know, is that a real thing, or did I hear that wrong? There's a good chance I made that up.
No, because I think, yeah, I remember them.
Don't you remember they all got online?
Pulled off the side of the road and unloaded into a berm.
I mean, it was boom, boom, boom. It was. I was like, yes, do that again, you know. But I asked somebody, because remember we were at the tankers on the boat, and I asked the one guy. He used to always be in the gym, and I was kind of just asking him for advice on how to lift because he was a big monster. And but I think I know that's where I got the story. It had to have been him, because I only talked to like a couple of them like all the time. You know, you say what's up to everybody, but I talked to him a lot, and I thought that was the deal. Was you can't, for some reason, once that round gets into that chamber, like it can't just be ejected and set back down.
Yeah, that's
something like that.
That's what I heard too. I mean, that was the whole reason why we stopped the whole.
Yeah, because
convoy.
otherwise you're not going to make that kind of noise for no reason.
Yeah.
But they couldn't take those live rounds back on the boat type of thing. You know what I mean? Let's get rid of them out here.
Yeah.
So, all right, you're PTing these guys. You go through that, and then so a couple months later, they get you orders for 2-1?
For 2-1.
And you flew out there. Okay, so now we're talking about December of 01.
Yeah, well, see, while I'm there, they're trying to figure out where to send me, and they're like, East Coast, West Coast, Hawaii, you know, where do you want to go? And part of me, I'm like, well, I've done California before. I really don't want to go back out there. And I'm trying to think of which way I want to go, you know, and it snowed. You know, Oklahoma don't get much snow between October and December.
Right.
But it snowed, and I'm like, oh, man, they're going to have this white shit out there in Carolinas, too.
Yeah, East Coast, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm going West Coast. Give me the heat.
Yeah.
I want the sunny weather.
And the heat is like tropical paradise. I mean, there's hot days, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't beat Southern California too much, you know. So then I guess that was when we kind of met.
Well,
a few months later.
Yeah, a few months later, because I got out there, because I went to Bridgeport.
Yeah, okay,
and
never mind.
That was in February, and that was, here I am trying to get out of the snow.
Yeah, now they send you to.
And they send me to Bridgeport. As soon as I get to the unit,
cold
they're like,
weather
hey,
training.
We're going to Bridgeport in a month. Oh, I was like, no.
I tried to avoid all this stuff.
Yeah, but Bridgeport was fun.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have met you until 2002. Graduated boot camp in December of 01. Then I had to go back for my foot thing, hang out with those guys, and then SOI for 3 months. And then so I wouldn't have met you till like halfway through 2002 sometime.
Yeah.
Was when we all showed up from down
Which we went down there in February, which Bridgeport was February of 02.
How long was Bridgeport? A month?
I think we spent a month up there.
I never got to go.
Yeah.
Just for the experience, I think it would have been cool.
It was. It was actually one of the funnest training events I've done in the Marine Corps.
Really?
As much as I hate the cold and snow, it was a blast.
Yeah.
You know, and part of it was the way it was, because you know, 2-1 just come back off deployment, and they sent everybody off to flap taps, you know, and guys getting out. So we went up there. The whole company was a reinforced platoon. I think there's only like 30 to 40 of us company-wide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and like Sergeant Lopez was the acting company gunny.
Wow.
And you know how he was like, hey, man, it's cold. I'm the company gunny, but your rations are right there. Come get them as you want them.
Yeah.
And
he was a cool motherfucker, man.
Yeah, he was. And, you know, most people don't want to eat or do anything in the cold weather.
No, you just want to get warm.
The more you eat, the warmer you are.
Of course.
And so the cold weather MREs, they got all, you know, science. 1 a day is all you need for all your daily
calories burnt and all that. Really?
Yeah, and they give you more than that because it's cold weather.
Yeah,
it's the size of 2 MREs packages.
Oh, okay,
together.
All right.
And they come with breakfast, usually oatmeal, freeze dried. Everything's freeze dried.
Yeah,
and then I was eating 2 or 3 of those a day. I think I'm one of the few people that went up on the mountain and came back weighing more because I was just chowing down.
I was going to say, dude, you have got to burn some calories walking in those. Weren't you in like those snowshoe things?
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. Well, walking around up and down the road with the kids sledding is tough,
Yeah.
you know? So I could see how you need a lot of calories.
And, they do teach you. One of the few things that they did right was they know how to survive in the cold.
Yeah.
And I listened to everything they said, like, hey, 3 layers, you got your base layer, your warming layer, then an outer layer.
Yeah.
Wipe your boots off every morning, the inside of your boots, sponge them out. That way there's no moisture. And
Really?
you'll stay warm.
Huh.
And it's true. I was warm the whole time up there, except for the one day I woke up late. Hey, we got to get going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't need to sponge out my boots. My toes have been warm, toasty.
The boots should be warm. They've been in here with me.
Yeah, they'll be fine. And that day was like the warmest day that we had training, and it was the coldest I was because the ice inside of my boots never thawed out.
It's that thing where what they're telling you is for a reason, and you're like, no way, I'm smarter than this. I know better than these guys who do this for a living.
Yep.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is. They knew what they were talking about. And like you said, the whole time up there, I wasn't cold, really, until that one day that I didn't clean my boots with moisture.
See, when my hands and feet go, I'm out. And they go, like, especially being a smoker for all those years, I don't think that helps anything. I don't know if any of that's true, but they say, your extremities get less blood flow. And that, when my toes go, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go.
Well, so the boots, those little Mickey Mouse boots.
Yeah.
Really warm.
I love those.
Yeah, they keep the toes warm. And as for the fingers, they gave us 2 pair of gloves that had a shell and an insert.
Right.
One was gloves, one was mitts.
Right.
And I kept alternating them. I had that little pouch inside the Gore-Tex.
Okay.
And I would have one pair sitting next to the body, staying warm, drying out.
Good idea.
And as soon as my fingers got cold, I'd swap them out. And, the body heat was warming the other ones up.
And drying them, probably.
Yeah. And that's just how I kept my fingers warm, was just kept rotating my gloves throughout the day.
Dude, growing up, this girl, Becky, she lived up the road. There was like 15 of us little hood rats all running around. Her dad was a really cool dude, outdoorsy guy. And I don't even know where he got these boots from, but he had a pair of those. Here's Echo. He had a pair of those Mickey Mouse boots. He had gotten from somewhere, and they didn't fit him. And we were all going to sled or something one day, and I had, of course, tennis shoes on. My mom wouldn't. I didn't have snow boots. It was like, don't go out in it or wear what you have and put some Schnucks bags on there and call it a day. He was like, where are your boots? And I'm like, I don't have any. And by this time, like, he knew my mom did the best she could, Yeah. He was like, here, man, put these on. They're yours, And I was like, what the hell is this? And I had them. I don't even know what happened to them. I think in one of my moves across the country, I got, but they were the best boots I've ever had, and like I want them back. But I think you can find them places. But I'm sure they have better shit now. But these were old, like I think they were like Air Force jump type boots. You could put air in them and shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're the same, but it was the same concept.
It's not to put air in. It's because the boots that we were issued there, it's. If you go from the ground up in there, the pressure change.
Oh, okay.
And what that does is it'll release the pressure.
It's a little
on
relief
the
valve.
Yeah,
I got you. He had said something about air, and I'm like, whatever you say, man. But there was just absolutely no water getting in there, and as a matter of fact, my feet would sweat more than that, and that was always the problem, of course. But I remember those boots; they were awesome. So cold weather training wraps up. And then you guys come back down the mountain, go back to Pendleton, and that's where it all kicks off, huh?
Yeah. So one story I guess I want to share.
Please, yeah.
So whenever I came back in, they busted me down. I was a corporal whenever I got out.
Yeah.
And so they made me a lance corporal whenever I came back in. And, the Marine Corps, your time and grade starts from when you pick up your...
Sure.
So I was actually one of the junior lance corporals with 4 years of service.
Wow.
So everything that goes up on the mountain on training has to come down, including shit and piss.
Everything.
We shit in 5-gallon buckets, and at the end of the op, we come down, and we had to empty them. So guess who got put on the work party for that?
I'm sure.
Yeah, me.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so that was fun. We had to open up the 5-gallon buckets, set them on a rack, and power wash them. Yeah.
Why? Wait a minute. Why in the desert do we dig a hole and the docs know how much human waste is going to be? Blah blah blah. They have a mathematical equation for it, but you can't do the same thing up in a mountain in the snow.
National forest.
Ah,
Once the snow melts, they said there would be a minefield of
just human shit.
toilet paper. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's national forest is mostly where all the training is. So.
Oh. I
know,
thought that was ours up there for some reason. Not that well, it is, but it's still national forest, so
Yeah.
it's got to be protected.
Yeah.
Wow, you fucking boot! You had to clean out all the shitters.
Yeah.
That's not that shit sucks, man. That like some of those jobs is like this
Yeah.
isn't for humans, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, hey, give me like 2 more months and I'm going to outrank all of y'all, you know?
Oh, I'm gonna get mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk all about it on here, but like having to clean up, dude. I just don't have the stomach. I will throw up quick.
Yeah.
I don't know how I wouldn't have made that one.
Luckily, there was one Marine. He's like, man, I don't mind running the power washer. You know, they gave us a apron. He's like, y'all just get it up on the rack, and I will power wash it. And it's like, oh, thank you.
Right on, tough guy. I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
I'll fucking buy you one.
Yeah, it was nasty. I mean, you know, we're trying to do it as clean as possible, but power washer,
It's
yeah, his boots were covered in human shit.
that's
you know?
tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. So you come back down, and then that's where we meet.
Yeah.
Start training up, and then a little while later get going. How was it? How was it getting out and going back home to? You live in the country basically still. I mean, not basically, but you were telling me yesterday, gas stations, whatever, 4 miles away. So you're out there a little ways. How is that like transition to go back home kind of by yourself? Not kind of by yourself, but pretty much by yourself with mom. Pretty tough.
What do you mean?
Just being like alone, just going from all of that and being around the guys so much to going and being alone. Or is that just kind of what you're used to?
It's what I like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know that about you for sure. But
yeah, I don't know. I grew up out in the country. What that mile within 2 or 3 miles our neighborhood, there's only probably 10 houses.
wow.
You know?
So how many people in your graduating class in high school?
Well, because of high school, we actually had the largest class, and it got broke. The record got broke the next year and the following years, but I think there was 100, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, to me that's way small town to most people.
And the town, I mean, so I grew up near Lawton, but the school that I went to was Elgin, which is north of there. It was a rural community.
Yeah.
Was it middle school, somewhere around there? The town of Elgin, they held a big parade because a baby was born, and it gave the population of 1,000. So they went from.
Oh shit.
So it was a big
Yeah.
deal because they stepped up in class and became a
more funding or whatever the whole thing, and then
Yeah.
also just to put 1,001 on the board or on the sign.
Yeah.
Did you run into any kind of trouble just being alone and not alone, but shit like that when you went back home? Because I know I did. You know where I'm going with this. We're gonna help people.
Whenever I got out of the Marine Corps the second time, I didn't move out into the country. I moved to Broken Arrow. It's a suburb of Tulsa.
Yeah.
And my life was the bar life.
Yeah.
For a long time. It was.
That's where I was going with this.
I go to work and then
Yeah.
bar was my home.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, work and the actual house that I slept in was just secondary. Home
Did
was
you
the
still
bar.
own that bar?
Not at that time. I ended up. It was actually on the deployment we went on. I had to do the paperwork and send it off and get it sold.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, who owns a bar?
And an alcoholic.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I couldn't have done that.
Well, it was basically there was.
Well, I kind of owned a bar. It's just I had no rights to it. I just paid to keep the fucking lights on.
Well, so some of the old veterans I was telling you about, they were disability, drawing Social Security.
Yeah.
They actually bought it, but they couldn't have it in their name.
Yeah.
You know, so they put it in my name. And whenever they told me that one day, they're like, hey, we need to ask you a big favor. you know. And I go, hey, if you're gonna put me as the owner of the bar, the only thing I really care about is just don't get me in trouble with the IRS.
Of course.
And I go, hey, wait, if I own the bar, I get a drink for free, right? And they're like, oh God,
We knew you were going to ask.
yeah. And they're like, yeah, I think we can do that. And I go, one more thing. And they're like, what? I go, the key to the pool table.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to pay for pool.
No.
You know?
I own the fucking place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to tip your bartender still.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Yeah.
We have that very much in common. Excuse me. We were at some friends yesterday, and one of them had a shot of tequila, and Terry and I both looked at each other. Now, you used to like the taste of tequila.
What do you mean used to? I still do.
See, I always knew, and I was telling the story yesterday. I learned from a young age in my 20s that on 3 separate occasions, I drank tequila, I went to jail. I drank tequila, I went to jail, drank tequila, went to jail. And every time I would wake up in jail, I go, man, it was really not that much different than any other. I'm out, I'm drinking every night. What? And the only uncommon denominator was the tequila. And I don't know what obviously now I've been able to just quit doing things that I know are harming me and get me in trouble. But at that time, I wasn't quitting doing anything, but like going to jail was expensive and I knew that, like, okay, we don't have to quit drinking. This was my rationale. We don't have to quit drinking. We can still get DWIs and do all this stupid shit, but we do have to stop drinking tequila. And for some reason, man, it was only one other time we were at this packed place where you don't even want to be there anymore. You can't get a fucking drink. It was just a nightmare. My buddy knew all kinds of people, and he was able to get shots somehow and just handed me one. And the place was so busy, we didn't even get to talk. And I hit it, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, did you just fucking give me tequila? And he was like, oh, my bad, I forgot. I'm like, dude. So, but for some reason I was able, I knew that tequila and I did not get along. And then I would go through this thing. This was funny too, how I would figure, I would think that, well, it's not, drinking itself isn't the problem. It's this one particular brand, right? So Uncle Jack and I had a relationship for a while, and then Uncle Jim and it was always like, yeah, me and Jack don't get along. But Jim Beam, now that's different. Well, we're not getting along anymore. And I would go through this rotation of all the different liquors, and it's like, hey, dummy, you just can't have any of it, you know? Like, so, but to come to those terms took a long time. But did that struggle catch up with you years later?
It did. I got a total, let's see. I got thrown in jail, public intox a couple times. I don't remember. I was drunk.
Yeah.
Got a DUI once. It's no big deal. And then years later, I was living in Coweta. Got me 2 DUIs in a month. And it's kind of funny, I'm sitting there. The second time I get pulled over, I was driving on a paper license that you get after.
Sure.
And it's like, man, please have days left on it, because it's close to 30 days. I'm like, I don't want another driving on suspension,
right, to add to it.
It's not that I'm getting a DUI. It's I don't want to drive it under suspension,
There you go.
That's what's going through my mind.
Yeah,
is, hey, just please have, like, days left on this paper license,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then, I guess I was fortunate because my lawyer I went to turned out to be a great lawyer, but whenever I was sitting there talking to him, which was after the second DUI, he's like, hey, you're looking at 5 years. And I go, what? I go,
not for drinking and driving.
Do I need to get another lawyer?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, no, but if you lie to me and if you're not, he goes, I just need you to be forthcoming on everything, because legally you can go to jail for 5 years.
Yeah, I got to build a case.
And he's like, you're going to be on probation for 2 years, after everything was done.
Right,
like,
right.
And he's like, if you get in trouble, you're going. And I go, no, what kind of trouble is this? And, everything came together, because that's actually whenever, the motorcycle club I was in, I just finished up my prospect. I knew I was about to get my patch.
Yeah.
And, they were concerned about my drinking too. And everything, just all the stars aligned to where I got to quit drinking.
Yeah.
And it really, because I'd been in trouble in the Marine Corps for drinking
Right.
before. I knew I could quit for 6 months, a year,
Yeah.
2 years for the probation. No problem. I know I can quit drinking for
Right,
2 years.
right.
I've done it before. It was, what am I going to do after the 2 years? That's where the struggle's going to hit. And, so I never really, the first few years, I never quit. I mean, I never drank, but in my head, I was still going to drink.
I got you.
in
I'm
the
waiting
future.
I'm waiting on the clock to run.
Yeah, I got the clock running, but one of the amazing things happened during that 2 years of probation was I met a woman, Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
She was, she had her shit together, had a pretty good life going for her. And,
Yeah.
We became a thing, and it was, I watched my bank account grow.
Yeah. It's weird.
I went from paycheck to paycheck, starving on
Sure.
Thursdays and Fridays
Sure.
because, payday's Friday.
Yeah.
And I'd be at the bar Wednesday going, man, how can I do this? I guess I'm not eating Thursday.
Right. Okay. So
'cause-
$3 in gas. To
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I quit drinking, and during those 2 years, I learned, hey, I make a pretty good living if I just quit drinking.
Right. It's nice having money.
Yeah.
And
that was the biggest motivation,
sure.
to just, hey, I can live a pretty good life and actually buy things,
Yeah.
because I couldn't even afford work clothes,
Right.
and
Well, but when you're sitting in the bar, it's like I'm agreeing with you the whole way, just telling my kind of side of it. But it's like, all right, I know I need at least 2 packs of smokes. That's going to cost me, and then it's like I would try so hard to keep the party going, ultimately just to forget and not think about things. But like I would try so hard, and it's like now after all these years, I look at it completely the opposite. Like I'm not going to spend $85 at a bar that I'm going to feel like shit for a week. I'm going to not remember everything.
Yeah.
Like Alicia, like I said, got me tickets to the Shane Gillis show. Back then, that would have been like a couple $100, not only the tickets, but like we're going to pregame for sure.
yeah, I got to quit drinking like 2 days a week for the next month.
Right. To
afford
budget.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Budget out to have more alcohol. And it's just like,
Yeah, that was the budget. How many days of drinking do I have to go to be able to afford to do
yeah,
something?
how many roofs do I have to put on to be able to drink 6 days, 7 days a week?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I like to have kind of not a lesson, but try to end on something positive. What my hope here is, I think but if there's some younger folks listening to this, we met one last night who's just kind of starting his journey, and he's going to be a police officer, and he's going to go through some things. But like what you could have done back then to avoid putting yourself through all that, right? And I think obviously it's a good thing. How many years you got sober now? 10 years sober, right? So yeah, the DWIs and the going to jail and the spending all the money and all the hardship that came with it. Obviously, what we would rather happen, Terry and I both, is that you just don't have to go through those things to learn that lesson. And it's weird. It's different for you and I because I came home to the same community. I mean, dudes from junior high and high school, right? So I had people everywhere. I had tons of friends, but that was the culture. And I know guys now that are my age, a couple years older, a couple years younger, and I'm not saying that this is wrong. It's just not for me. But like it's the same. The bar has changed because everybody's moved over to this side of the river. So right, the bars and the locations have changed, but everybody's doing the exact same shit. And some of it's gotten even a little bit worse, like with some substances. And it's like we've lost so many people around here to the drugs and drinking and shit, of course, too, but it's really the drugs. So like how we can bypass making all those decisions and start to get on some kind of a healthy living pattern when we get home or when we get out. You had your buds. I know, I understand. But like I had this whole support system and it didn't fail me. I failed, but it's like, how do you have any advice for a younger person or people who just to try to avoid making those mistakes that you and I made? And I know it's putting on the spot, but
You know, it's hard for me to give advice. I mean, because no matter everybody's been told, hey, they'll get the hooks into you if
yeah,
you
sure.
any of it, and I mean, you got to live your life and make your decisions. And,
Yeah.
and it sucks. I mean, I don't want to see, like my niece. I don't want to see her on drugs.
Right.
But
Right. It
you
does
know,
happen.
yeah, and I'm here for you whenever you want it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you got a support system in place, somebody who's been through there. But
Yeah. Well, and it's like it's reaching out to find it, right? Because I just got done in one sentence saying that I had this huge support system. But thinking about that, I don't think it was really a support system. I think it was a party system.
yeah,
You know?
and part of it, you got to have that attitude to want to quit.
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, I've been in trouble with my drinking for years before I quit.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I'd go to AA meetings and it's like, man, these are a bunch of whiny bitches.
Yeah.
And then the one time that I went to AA because I was ready to quit,
Yeah.
it's like, they ain't whining. They're giving me pretty good advice
Right.
out here. You
Right.
know?
Well, they're being proactive.
Yeah.
Whereas I was just waiting on some shit to happen.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's the attitude going into it. I mean, you have to want to quit. And
Yeah.
I just say, hey, I mean, the deep down, you have to want it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't want it, you're going to find the excuse to go back.
Of course. See, and as far as the alcohol goes, I'm definitely an alcoholic. But the drugs took over and the alcohol just took a back seat because it didn't, you know how it is. Alcohol doesn't work quite as fast as like speed and painkillers, you know? So it was like the alcohol just got left to the side because that wasn't the type of buzz I was into at the time.
Yeah.
And so like, but I did, it's not like I just replaced one thing with another is the moral of that whole story. But knowing now, like it's a little bit different. If we go down to the Dersh's next door and have a couple, like I'm walking home, I'm with my wife and my neighbors. We're sitting around at a table. The girls listen to 80s dance music and scream and yell, and Pat and I laugh at them. And then I go home. But there's still that thing the next day. It's like, oh man, I do feel like shit, you know? But it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's wrong either. But I just think that I'm like, obviously, you know, they say you change every 10 years, right? And so it's like, I'm of course way different than I was in my 20s and in 30s too. But, I just think it's not a control because I know for sure if I was out with the right people, I could definitely go back to losing control. Maybe not on the drug thing, but like on the drinking thing, definitely. So it's like, I know I'm always on that border, you know? So yes, the answer is just don't do it at all. But it's like, I do enjoy sitting outside with my neighbors, having a bonfire, you know, and just like kind of relaxing. You don't give yourself, you told me a story one time. I'd like you to tell that if you would.
My 10-year sobriety anniversary.
This is it.
So here I am 10 years. I've never done anything for 10 years of my life.
Straight.
You know, never done it. You know, so it's a pretty big deal to be able to go 10 years without drinking.
Holy shit, yeah.
So I'm going to celebrate it the only way I know how,
Yeah.
which is to get drunk. And
Now, was this your idea?
Yes, it was.
So no buddies of yours were like, hey.
No, it was, hey, let me just get drunk. I've been 10 years and
I deserve this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was I went to an AA meeting because I wanted a 10-year pin. You know, I've actually worked hard. It was a struggle.
Of course. That coin means a lot.
Years.
Yeah.
It does. And the damnedest thing, you know, talking about how AA meetings, you don't, you know, the first few times I went, I didn't learn shit from them,
No.
you know, until I wanted to. And so we were reading from the Big Blue Book, and one of the passages that we was reading was, hey, we can't go back. There's something we're wired to, you know, we can't go back and we can't just enjoy alcohol like, you know, normal people. And it stuck with me like, hey, I got to watch myself, you know. And I actually didn't go out on my 10-year anniversary and drink, but I waited till that weekend, and, you know, to go out, and I was planning on getting drunk. I had a safe place. I had friends that were going to watch me. Hey, you know, here's my keys.
Yeah.
You know, don't beat the shit out of me. Don't let me go outside of these doors.
Right.
And so I opened up a beer, you know, take a sip or two, and it's like, oh man, that tastes good, you know. And then I took another drink and it's like, oh man, I can feel it. This is so wonderful. The third sip, it was like, oh man, this is the crossroads right here.
That's it.
I go, I got to stop now or I'm hooked, and
Oh yeah.
I gave the beer away and I said, hey, get this away from me.
Wow.
I can't do it no more because the old feeling's coming back.
Yeah, that's tough.
So you asked me in 10 years, I mean, the clock restarted in my head. It's only been, I guess, coming up on a year, but 10 years total, going on 11.
See, when you told me that story, not because I wanted to give you a pass, because I completely understand what you're saying, and I do agree with you. I also think that was like the biggest test, and the fact that you passed that, to me, I gave you so much credit on that one, because that, yeah, you probably just shouldn't have had a sip of beer. I get it. But like taking yourself to that line and then going, no, I know better now, I think is like, to me, it's an even bigger accomplishment, and I don't know, that's tough to do.
Well, in the public perception of alcohol, hey, with me, because I've had the total 3 DUIs, it's like, you can drink, just don't drive.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but I can't control none of that.
I hear you.
Driving drunk is the best thing ever. I absolutely love it. I don't like driving. Like, I got 6 hours drive home.
Yeah.
I really don't like doing it. You get me drunk, that 6 hours is going to be a blast.
Really?
Yeah, I love driving.
I hated it.
Whenever I'm drunk, I love driving. Let's go. I don't want to sit here at the bar. I'm drunk. Let's go drive somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah, public safety is a good thing that I'm not drinking.
Of course. Of course.
But yeah, I know that I cannot control it at all. So there is no, hey, just don't drive. It's
right.
like, no, that's not going to happen with me. I drink, I'm out of control.
Yeah. Well, see, riding my motorcycle, I mean, there was nothing better than bar hopping on a chopper.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nothing better. Maybe have an extra helmet with you, maybe not. I don't know. This is when we had to wear helmets in Missouri, but it's like there was nothing better. I mean, because you could pick I'm happily married, love my wife, but back then you could pick a girl up, drop her off in the next bar, take another, and it was so much fun with a group of dudes. Just running red light. I mean, just doing the silliest shit you could think of, and looking back, like, I made some promises to not get on a motorcycle again. That's just my life. And I, like a dirt bike or something, playing around in the woods is different. But like, I don't trust the people around me out on the road enough these days. But like, you should definitely not be going that speed, that intoxicated, like, ever. And it was the most fun thing to do. And it was having the pack of dudes. Why all the motorcycle clubs started was because they got home and wanted to be around people like them and didn't want to follow your fucking rules, and we want to go do what we want. And I had that, like, a little taste of that feeling, just kind of outlaw shit, and I fucking loved it, man. I thought it was the best thing to do. And people look at you like, these dudes just don't give a fuck, like they're just outlaw shit. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun doing it, but I've come to find out about myself, when I have that much fun doing anything, stop, because you're pushing it close.
Yeah.
And, I got my own couple DWIs, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's just a bummer. But I guess that's what we're trying to say. Oh, I wanted to say this. I work with a guy. He's 25. Do you know what a fister is in the Army? They call air. It's what they do. FIST means, it's an acronym, of course, like every fucking thing else, but they call air. Anyway, so him being 25, me being 41 now, when we worked together for that 10-week time frame, you just get to know a person. And he does not party. He like went the opposite way of you and I when he got out, right? So super into outdoors and hunting. And if he's not hunting in the winter, he's got a fucking canoe, and he goes up to this lake up the road and fishes and canoes around, and totally fit guy and very disciplined and like structured. And I was telling him the other night, I'm like, man, I wish I would have had that thing back then, because like those years weren't wasted, but they were wasted. I was wasting years. And he's just been so productive in a positive mental space, you know, and he knows that like I've got these kind of issues and this stuff makes me actually feel better. Alcohol just like pushes it away a little bit and then you got to deal with it in fucking 15 years, you know, but he's doing it like the right way. And I hope, and there's a lot of organizations and stuff that can help these young guys, but like you said, you have to want it and it's not going to come knocking on your door. And to speak on another thing, and I know I've said it on here before, what you were talking about in the book, that we can't just go back a little bit. The one counselor in rehab told me, or told us the one time, he was like, your addiction's just outside that door doing push-ups. It's just getting stronger, waiting on you to come back. So in my world, if you snorted, let's say 10 oxys a day and you quit for 10 years, when you get back, I don't know if this is all factually accurate, but like your addiction is still at that like 10 a day. Now you're going to get a buzz from a little bit for sure, but like your tolerance is going to go right back to where it was. And that was what the guy was trying to tell me, was like, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Like that first beer, I started feeling the effects of alcohol.
Yeah.
You know,
that warm.
It was warm. I could actually, you know, just off of 3 sips, you know, hey, I was starting to get drunk.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but it wouldn't have took long. I mean,
no,
you know, going from one beer gets me drunk to the next thing you know, I'm at a
tequila
within a week or two. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's one of those deals where you really can't. I mean,
yeah,
I guess some people can. Anything's possible.
Right.
But boy,
not for you.
It's hard.
Well, it's good that you figured it out at least, and I'm happy to have you here and healthy after all those years. Folks, we're going to get up and do some family stuff. They're all heading over. We got food going on. I hope everybody has, or when you hear this, had a great Christmas day and spent some time with your family and loved ones, and a new year. I don't know. Oh, are you doing any New Year's resolutions? Do you do New Year's resolutions at all?
Not anymore.
My dad, when I was a kid, I remember he would say, I'm giving up corn dogs. And the funny thing behind that was that he fucking never ate corn dogs anyway.
Yeah.
So he would always just do some bullshit that I'm not quit flying planes. It's like, you don't fly planes, asshole. I don't have any set for myself. I'm going to leave it that way. I think I'm just going to keep kind of doing what I got to do. I do have to pick up my game on buying Alicia gifts though, because she's so much better at it than me. So I got to do better on that one. But buddy, thanks again for bringing Cash That Rifle. It means as much to me as it, I think, does to you and him. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I'm so happy to have you down here. And guys, listening, this was funny to me because when Terry met us in Branson, Savvy, we had an even number with you because there's 5 of us. So you made 6, right? So we all had to ride roller coasters. And Savvy was like, hey, can I ask Terry if he wants to ride? And I think that was the first time or like second time you guys had really met, because you'd come up here a couple of times and the kids weren't here.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we got on a roller coaster and I looked back and Terry was just laughing and he totally came to life. And it's been a lot of fun having him as another part of our family, which he always has been. But so like, him opening up on this podcast, when I asked him to do it earlier, I'm like, hey, you want to go podcast before you leave? And he was totally like, yeah, but I could tell there was like maybe a little reservation. So you did great. And I think this was awesome. So thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
All right. No problem.
All right, man. You guys be good. Take care of each other and do something nice for somebody. And I've got some pretty cool stuff coming up. So hang in there with me. And I got some good guests coming in and we're going to talk about some things that I think are pretty important. So thanks for checking me out again. Please like and subscribe or whatever they tell you to do on YouTube and what's the other one? Spotify and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you guys, man. Merry Christmas. Take it easy. We'll see you.